Has anyone ever told you that sugar was to blame for your kidney stones? We hear this all the time, and it's a major source of confusion. So if you're interested in getting to the bottom of sugar's role for kidney stone formation, stick around for this video. Hi, I'm Joey Weichman, and welcome to Stone Relief. Today's topic of conversation is one that I hope will clear up a ton of confusion for a lot of people. We speak to hundreds of kidney stone sufferers every week, and there is an extraordinary number that have been told that sugar is to blame for their kidney stones. Now, I am no fan of sugar, especially not the processed stuff, but I don't believe that all forms of sugar, in particular those from fruit, have anything to do with kidney stones. But it's very difficult to ignore the data that's out there. For example, sugar consumption has never been higher. The average American consumes around 126 grams per day. That's roughly a quarter of a pound, which is about 10 times the daily recommendation of the lowest recommendation that's out there. So, at the same time, kidney stones are also on the rise and have been for some time. So there's some correlation there. And you know how much the medical community loves correlation and causation. So it's not surprising that some well-intentioned doctor or urologist may have mentioned sugar to some of you. But what does sugar really have to do, if anything, actually with kidney stones? So to get us started, let's begin with talking about the kidney stone type that is probably going to be the most impacted by sugar consumption, and that is a uric acid kidney stone. Now, in order for uric acid kidney stones to form, let's just set a foundation here. You need to have uric acid in a higher level concentration in your body, then you also need to have acidic urine. So we're going to break apart sugar's impact on both of those things to just really kind of analyze what impact, if any, does it have. So when it comes to uric acid levels, healthy adults, and this is going to vary a little bit between men and women, but generally it's between 2.6 to around 7 milligrams per deciliter, and that is going to be that measurement of uric acid in your blood. It's serum uric acid, not urinary, but serum as in blood uric acid levels. Now, when it comes to increased sugar consumption, serum uric acid levels, unfortunately, go along with this. Now, I want to just make a caveat here. Now, it is not a one-to-one correlation, so it's not like you see a concurrent increase in uric acid with a concurrent increase in a certain sugar level. It doesn't work that way. Now, generally what we've seen from the research data is if you're eating less than 50 grams of sugar, give or take, I'd say 20, 25 grams of sugar a day, which is a lot, you're generally not going to experience any kind of concerning uric acid level. Where we saw really kind of a jump up in uric acid levels that was significant was when we talked about 200 grams of sugar. And this could be from a variety of different sources, but in this study was looking at fructose, which is the sugar that is found in fruit. And this raised serum uric acid levels by 1.01 milligram per deciliter, which is relatively significant, especially when you consider that the range of this is only about 4. So this is about a 25% increase in this here. So it is very, very statistically significant. However, again, just because uric acid levels go up, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is of any significance. However, there are some other things that sugar does mess with, which we're going to talk about next with regards to urine pH, such as it impairing insulin signaling, which is going to cascade a whole host of issues when it comes to urine pH, which is then going to set up the body for uric acid stones. So urine pH in healthy adults is generally accepted to be, around 6.5 to 7.5. It's neutral. You don't want to be alkaline. You don't want to be too acidic. You want to be in the middle. This is the way that our bodies are meant to operate. If anybody's trying to tell you one way or the other, they're probably trying to sell you something. However, there are times where you strategically would alkalize or strategically acidify your urine, especially when it comes to kidney stones. But these are used in small windows of time, not just overall alkalize your body. So again, normal range, 6.5 to 7.5. Now, the same study that we were talking about before when it came to uric acid levels in the blood also evaluated what would happen to urine pH. Because again, we're looking at uric acid stones, and they are a combination of urine pH and also uric acid levels in the body. So what this study found was at that 200 grams a day of fructose consumption, they saw a decrease in urine pH of between 0.26 to 0.61. And again, on a pH scale, when we're talking about this, like a half a pH drop is pretty significant. Now, 200 grams of fructose is really pretty high. The average American, again, is consuming about 126 grams of sugar. And this is a variety of different sources. This is glucose, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, a myriad of different things. So 200 grams is pretty excessive. And I would even venture a guess to say that if you were at levels of maybe 75 grams to 100, you're probably not going to see too much of an issue. And the thing I want to just drive home here is the real big impact with sugar. Expands beyond kind of the kidney in terms of what is damaged and why your stones are forming. But when we were talking about the uric acid levels, we were talking about insulin signaling. So when it comes to insulin signaling, this is also something that you could be relating to like a insulin resistance, which means that your body's response to a sugar is broken. So what happens when you have insulin resistance with regards to kidney stones and you're increasing your sugar intake? Insulin resistance is going to most likely present itself, especially if you have excessively high levels of sugar consumption, which again, the average American consumes excessively high levels of sugar. 100 plus grams of sugar a day is excessive. So this is going to trigger insulin resistance, which makes sense because about 87% of the US population is suffering from some sort of metabolic dysfunction. And that includes insulin resistance. So, okay, got it. This makes sense why this is playing true so much. So we've got insulin resistance, which then impacts proximal tube functionality. So the proximal tubule is something that is part of the nephron, which is the functional unit of the kidney, which is what does all the work. It processes the waste and then creates urine as a conveyance of waste products out of our body. So when you start messing with these things, things start to go awry. And in particular, the thing that gets messed with what is ammonium production. Now you might go, why the heck does this have anything to do with anything? But ammonium excretion has the ability to alkalize, or actually a better way to put this is to maintain the acid-base balance in your body. And that basically what that boils down to is really just having a relatively neutral pH in your body. So ammonium is an alkalizing agent. So if it decreases in presence, it has the opposite effect. So your urine is going to decrease in pH, which is what we observed in these studies. So less ammonium, the lower your urine pH, which means it is susceptible for uric acid kidney stones. Now, on the other side of the coin, you probably heard me talk about at some point in time, ammonium, especially when it's linked to like UTIs and calcium phosphate type of stones, which form as a result of UTIs more often than not. It's bacterial kind of based, and it also has to do with urine pH, because UTIs, they create ammonium. The ammonium alkalizes the urine, and then the alkalization of the urine sets up the environment for calcium phosphate stones. So when it comes to sugar and uric acid stones, there's definitely a link here. However, if you are a metabolically healthy individual, and again, this is a very small percentage of the US population, but if you're metabolically healthy, I don't see any issue with consuming even up to 100 grams of fruit a day. We're going to talk about my personal experiment with this for a year. In this next section, we're going to talk about calcium oxalate stones, but nevertheless, I do not see that being an issue, provided, again, you have appropriate insulin signaling, you are not metabolically broken, you have an appropriate reaction or insulin response to sugars, whether it be fructose or glucose or whatever it might be. If you are not metabolically broken, this type of stuff is not an issue. However, if you are metabolically broken and you are getting uric acid kidney stones, a great place to start would be by reducing your sugar and also trying to figure out how to clean up your diet to be able to eliminate that metabolic dysfunction and allow your body to be able to function appropriately, which would then eliminate the issue with uric acid levels, and it would also curve the urine pH thing because your urine pH would return to neutral. So that's it for uric acid stones. Let's talk about calcium oxalate stones in the next chapter.
Just a reminder, this information is available in written form on our website. Find the link below in the description.
Okay, last thing I want to talk about is calcium oxalate kidney stones. Now, the only real reason that I included this in here is because this stone type is the most prevalent stone type anywhere in the world. Roughly 80% of kidney stones are calcium oxalate stones. So more often than not, people, when they're talking to their doctors, their urologists, when they're searching online, they likely have a calcium oxalate kidney stone. Not necessarily a uric acid stone. This is maybe 10%-ish of the population, where this is 80% of the population who forms kidney stones. Much, much more prevalent. And there's been a lot of information that's been kicked around online. We see it in the forums about sugar and its role with kidney stones. And again, looks like it's appropriate here when it comes to uric acid if you're metabolically unhealthy. But on the other side of the coin with the calcium oxalate stones, what role does it play? So there has been some research that's been out there. It's a little bit of funky research, but they show a increase in fructose increases calcium excretion. And again, there's a lot of these medical bodies out there and research communities that go, oh, an increase in calcium is a risk factor for kidney stones. Technically, yes, because there is more ingredients like to mix with the calcium and the oxalate to form stones. However, again, if you're eating a species appropriate diet for our ancestral lineage, again, the lineage that forms kidney stones, unlike the rest of the world's population, we're a little bit different, have a different evolutionary path. It said that that was going to increase it. But again, kidney stones do not form. Calcium oxalate kidney stones do not form without the presence of oxalate. And if you're eating an appropriate diet for our lineage, there is no oxalate in that. So there is no calcium oxalate kidney stone. So this increase in calcium excretion, not only from the surface level is it just really doesn't have any relevance or weight, but there's no real concrete evidence when it comes to the research data. It's just very, very correlation causation, as we had talked about in the previous chapter. But nevertheless, no evidence. And again, increased calcium does not mean an increased risk for stones if you're eating appropriately, as you should be as a calcium stone former. Next piece of this is oxalate excretion. Now, there's also been some kind of funky tie to this where, yes, sugar or fructose in particular, glucose and fructose rather, can convert to glyoxylate in the body. And glyoxylate, this is a precursor to oxalate synthesis in the liver. And yes, our bodies can synthesize oxalate endogenously versus an exogenous source, which is outside of the body. An endogenous source is something we create ourselves. And this is just a byproduct of a number of different processes. We don't necessarily use it for anything. It is still a waste product. It does not have a place in our body. And for most of the population, the production of this is so low, it is insignificant. The only exception to this, and it is not related to sugar, is primary hyperoxaluria type 1, which is where you have an oversynthesis of endogenous oxalate. So you're making too much oxalate on your own because of a broken pathway. And that is the only thing, and that is exceptionally rare. Like literally 1 in 3 million people have that. Borderline unicorn status, I think is what I've called it in the past. So this does happen, but it is not anywhere at any kind of significance where it would lead to kidney stone formation. So on this side of the coin, sugar does not influence calcium oxalate stones. Now, I'm no stranger to this. I've been where you've been about a decade ago, trying to figure out all my kidney stone situations, reading this, reading that, listening to this doctor, listening to this podcast, this video. It can be incredibly confusing. However, finding good sources of information is possible. You've landed on one right now. As a kidney stone sufferer myself, I've gone through this research, this pain. I've lived and breathed everything that you're going through, and as such, puts me in a unique position to be able to offer help. So if you're looking to really put an end to either your uric acid kidney stones, or maybe you've got a calcium type of stone, head on over to our website and click on the coaching tab up in the main navigation. From there, book a call with me, and we will set a plan in place in order to help not only stop kidney stones, but also help you get your life back.
Visit our website if you'd like to join a community of people learning to manage their kidney stones naturally. See you in the next video.